The Flash, when well written, is arguably the strongest superhero in the DC universe. But what would happen if he replaced Aaron in the Boy Show? Let's get into it after joining the Seven. Barry would probably quickly realize that Homelander and the rest of the crew are off their gourd and they need to be taken down. The great thing is, the Flash is 1,000 times more powerful than A-Train, and he's not a year. So he won't be shaking in his boots and be too scared to stand up to Homelander. The Flash would probably confront Homelander and tell him to give it up and turn himself in. Homelander ego is bigger than Beyonce's B, and that thing fat. So he'll probably threaten Barry, or just try to laser him dead right there. Either way though, Barry's gonna start hitting Homelander with a 3-piece dinner with biscuits and a couple super speed juicers. Homelander can throw everything but the kitchen sink at Barry, and none of it will even come close to hitting him. Because the Flash Wind and super speed, or whatever you want to call it, sees everything in slow motion and can move normally, if not faster, within that perception. So he'd be able to dodge everything easily. He wouldn't be able to be touched. Now, the question, how does Homelander durability stand up to the Flash? Probably not. Well, Homelander has been hurt by Queen Maeve when they were scrapping and when she stuck that rod in his ear. Can you imagine what would happen if the Flash ran that rod into Homelander ear at super speed? Buddy would lose his whole dome, but the flesh typically doesn't kill. That's why I'm not taking into consideration him phasing his hand through Homelander chest reverse Flash style. Barry could also hit Homelander with an infinite mass juicer, but that would definitely kill him. So again, he probably wouldn't do that, but it's always an option. But either way, one way or another, Barry would deal with the Milkman pretty easily. And when I say Milkman, I mean Homelander. That boy crazy for the nipple just constantly latched onto the bosom, sucking like a newborn baby. Goo. Gee, guy, I want milk. I don't blame him though. Firecracker can get it, man, all right? I'm getting off topic. What happens then? What happens after Homelander gets taken down? The rest of the Seven hate Homelander anyways. So they probably wouldn't do anything. But if they did, for example, Homelander little nut rider, the Deep, they'd get done up easily. The Flash would cuff him and throw them in a power dampening cell before they even knew what happened. Boom, easy, peasy, lemon, freaking squeezy. The Flash would then run the city the proper way. He would also probably take down the rest of the so-called heroes in that universe, and then dust his hands and call it a day. But what about the boys? The only one who would try anything would be Butcher's crazy ass, because that dude loves to hate. But even with his powers, he's not laying a paw on the Flash. If he tried anything, he'd get a nutshot at super speed. And that Mao would take down the most powerful being. Doesn't matter who you are, you're not eating a nutshot at super speed. So yeah, in about 48 hours or less, the Flash would clean this whole city, not to gargle it or anything. But it's true, the Flash is a goat. I might eventually do a video going more in depth on how the Flash would defeat the Seven. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think would happen if the Flash replaced a train. But that's all I have for you guys today, so I'll see you in the next one.